Hey guys! I thought today I might do an unscripted chat about the upcoming webcomic I'm working on to give you guys a better idea of what's coming, or just sort of compile some of the stuff together. You've probably seen some of the promotional images, or sorry, the concept art on social media and little previews or drawings, sketches here and there. Yeah, I've been having a lot of fun with it. I'll try to tell you a bit about the background, like where this concept comes from, but there will also be a forward posted right before the actual comic when it gets officially launched, so you can expect that. I don't know if I always wanted to tell a story about angels. I don't think there's something I thought about a lot. It was more when I was hanging out with my little brother that we would sort of like playfully discuss and imagine what angels might be doing to protect us as we were making like the long walk home from a park. And I guess it was from those silly little discussions that I now dreamt up a bunch of crazy things that I thought would make a fun cartoon or something. And I did make up one in my head eventually. It was about a guardian angel named Jacob or Jacob. Now I've changed his name to Jacob because I just like that pronunciation a lot better. It rolls off my tongue easier, and I don't know if you noticed, but sometimes I stammer. It's annoying. And I think I really liked the concept. Well, I should say that I really liked aspects of the concept, but the concept as a whole wasn't really working together for me very well. But I still played around with it like every once in a while just in my head for about 2 years. But it wasn't until very recently I started seriously considering doing anything with it. And when I say recently, I mean like maybe a couple months ago. Committing to actually producing a story and finishing it and, keeping the quality fairly consistent is a lot. It's a lot to manage. It's a lot of work. Even though I really love doing it, like with Sunstrike and Bloomist, it's still so much that I wasn't sure if I could ever commit to another story. I've come up with a few other stories over time, but I've never actually done anything with them because it's like, yeah, I don't think I'll be able to commit to that. Like, Sunstrike and Bloomist is already so long. Like, you think it's long now? It's a long shonen level type length of a story when it actually gets finished. And who knows when that will be, but yeah, one step at a time, right? And I know early last year I did try to make another comic called Black's Legacy. I don't know if you remember that. It was a Slugterra fan comic. And you might have noticed that, yeah, that didn't really go anywhere. And I don't believe it was because the concept wasn't good or the story wasn't good or worth doing. It had just gotten to a point where it felt like I was forcing myself to produce it. But I really just wanted to work on Sunstrike and Bloomist, and that was hard enough already. So I kind of had to stop. But in the case of the Angel Professor, I think this is a different scenario here. It's not long, not like Sunstrike and Bloomist. Like, I'm not saying it will be really short, but it's nowhere near the level of Sunstrike and Bloomist. Like, that story spans 2 generations. But when I started even like considering working on it, and I started fiddling around with concepts and writing stuff down, the more I started figuring out about it, and the more it started to become personal, and where I felt like I would explode if I didn't tell it, and that's how I feel about Sunstrike and Bloomist. The story always has to be moving forward. If it feels stuck, then I feel stuck, and I hate that. And more importantly, I think when a story gets to the point where it's like, okay, I need to tell this story, it becomes so personal, and there's something about it that's so true that I'm trying to harness or grasp, where I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm going to have to tell this story, otherwise I'm not going to figure out what this true thing is, and other people aren't going to hear it, and this might be really important. I think the best storytellers are on this amazing and beautiful journey of discovering truth and beauty and how we can apply that to our lives, and then we use the story to show that to people and to ourselves. And that's like a truly invaluable thing. Like, it's really important to get that out there somehow, and even if only one person sees that, you never know how that can affect someone and the good it can do. And it's just a really inspiring and purposeful, wonderful thing, and that's why I do any story. And of course, I think stories are also just really fun to produce and to create. Like, one of my favorite things is making up the characters and showing their dynamics and stuff. And, doing funny, cute, colorful things. I don't know, it's fun, right? But without that other thing, the weighty thing I mentioned earlier, I would not be able to keep the story going. Like, I can't keep the story going based on fun alone, because then, when that's done, it's like, okay, I'm tired now, bored, goodbye. So this is why I believe that The Angel Professor is not like the other fan comic idea. I think it is going to come to fruition and it will get finished, and because if I don't work on it, like in rotation with Sunstrike and Bloomist, I will feel very... So I gotta get it out of my system. A storyteller's gotta do what a storyteller's gotta do. But anyways, let's talk about the actual concept itself and how it's different from Sunstrike and Bloomist in particular. First big difference is genre. Sunstrike and Bloomist is superhero drama, and it's a lot more down to earth, although it obviously has a lot of crazy things in it as well, especially in the future. The Angel Professor is set almost exclusively in a different realm, not on Earth, and it is, I think I would say the genre is dark fantasy, or at least fantasy, but it feels kind of grim and bleak to me, especially in comparison with Sunstrike and Bloomist, but that is a bit debatable. Sunstrike and Bloomist will have some parts of it that are objectively a lot darker than anything in the Angel Professor. However, the Angel Professor's tone is more consistently grim and bleak. Now, let me get one thing straight with you for a moment. I do not approve of stories that are just grim and bleak, like, you gotta be more real, you gotta be more edgy, you gotta be more dark. I think that is garbage. So even though I'm describing the Angel Professor as grim and bleak, it's just that the tone is, it appears to be very hopeless, but that does in no way mean that there is no hope, or that the characters won't learn to hope, and that there won't be beauty and warmth and light in the story. In fact, I think the story is about light in the darkness. It's just that darkness is thicker and heavier and more consistent than perhaps Sunstrike and Bloomist, but that's also a dark story as well. So the relationships in Sunstrike and Bloomist are very focused on the bond between a brother and a sister, and it has two different types of those relationships in the story. The Angel Professor does not have this, or at least it's a bit different. With Sunstrike and Bloomist, it's about like a 30-plus-year-old man who is like really jaded, and then you have these two innocent kids and these two different sibling relationships. And in the Angel Professor, I think it feels a lot more like an older man and a young woman, that kind of relationship, a bit like the grizzled old tough guy and the innocent girl trope, At the end of the day, I think the relationship resembles that of a father and a daughter, and I know they look similar in age, but they are not, trust me. I think Sunstrike and Bloomist, at least the origin story arc, I think the theme will be about how much you as a person are worth, and how those little things about you that you don't like might actually not be awful things. You might be seeing them the wrong way. It's about how much you're worth as a person, regardless of where you come from, or what you've done, or what you've been through, because I believe that people have worth. And I think the Angel Professor is a bit different, although there might be some of that as well. And it might be a little too early to say exactly what it's about, because, that's part of the journey. Like, as you're creating the story, you find out more and more what it's about. I think this one is a little bit less about establishing your worth as a person, and more like you are loved. Like, even though they didn't love you, someone out there does love you, and those who don't love you, like who mistreated you and hurt you, they were wrong. It's also about opening up and allowing others to see you for who you are, and not hiding that in order to protect yourself. And it's about learning to let someone else be that protection for you, instead of just protecting yourself from everyone and everything. You're not in this alone, And the other thing that I think is quite different is, while Sunstrike and Bloomist will have more action in it later on, like in later episodes and later arcs, Sunstrike and Blue Mist, an origin story, doesn't actually have a lot of action in it, although it definitely has its violent moments. I think the Angel Professor will really test my ability to draw crazy big scale action scenes, but hey, at least I won't have to choreograph martial arts as much. It'll be more like the fantasy, slaying monsters, demons, supernatural abilities, that kind of thing. So yeah, there are lots of things that I'm really excited about for this one, and also for Sunstrike and Blue Mist, but mainly I think it's really fun to have two very different stories to rotate on, and it just really exercises different parts of my brain. I don't know, I'm enjoying it a lot, guys, and I can't wait to show you more of this and more of Sunstrike and Blue Mist. But thank you so much for listening. I'll talk to you again another time. See you!